So first thing we're going to do is we're explaining in words how we go about solving for x. So what is the first thing that I need to do in order to get x by itself? Yeah, perfect. So on your paper, you should have first, I subtract 8 on both sides. And so I'm going to be doing it below right here. So first we would subtract 8. And so right now I'm not going to actually do the math. I'm just showing you the steps that we would go about doing it. What's the next step we would do? We have 2x equals 10 minus 8. How would we get x by itself? We subtract. Remember, it's that clingy couple. How do I separate them? I got to divide them apart, right? So in order to do that, I got to divide them each by 2. So you end up with something that looks like this. And so we could do the math, and you should have gotten the correct answer. But today we're focusing on just moving around, because now we're working with letters. And so now we're just going to practice moving around letters, just like we were to solve this right here. So second, divide both sides. By 2. Cool. This one over here, I have these little symbols right here. Now I'm going to get this smiley face by itself. What do I have to do with the teardrop first to get it to the other side? Subtract, right? See how there's a plus sign? I'm going to subtract the teardrop on both sides. So right here, we're going to write subtract. So we're just moving things around to get this smiley face by itself. So I'm left with the sun and the smiley face equals the bell. There's the bell minus the tear. Now, how do I get rid of the sun that's attached to the smiley face? They're that clingy couple. How do I separate them? What am I going to have to do? Divide, right? We got to divide them apart. The smiley face wants to be alone. And so I end up with this. The smiley face equals the bell minus the teardrop over the sun. And so it looks like a mumble jumble mess, but really what you're doing is you're just moving things around in order to isolate and get one symbol, in this case, by itself. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be dealing with literal equations. And so we're spending 2 full periods on literal because although it is easy, a lot of people just get messed with when they're dealing with letters instead of numbers. So make sure you have this down. Circle how you feel. And then we're going to go to this next sheet that looks like this. It says notes on it. And we're just going to be doing a couple of examples. Cool. So it looks like this. So we're on notes of literal equations. And so to solve a literal equation, you simply have to isolate the variable you are trying to solve for. So basically how we're solving for x or anything that we usually solve for, that's what we're doing when we're doing literal equations. So first we need to know opposite operations. So what's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. What's the opposite of subtracting? Adding. Multiplying, dividing, last one is, what's the opposite of square root? Anyone know? What's the opposite of square rooting something? No, it's decimal. It sounds like square root. The first part of square root. What's the first word of square root? Square. So squaring something gets rid of the square root. Same thing, if we want to get rid of a square, we take the square root. And so that's one thing, those opposites are something that we forget about sometimes. So make sure to write those down where it says opposites. During third period today, you also have that check yourself quiz, which is basically, are you taking notes? And if you're not, you should still be able to solve the question. Cool. So we're going to try these together. And so this says solve for x. So basically, I'm just going to rewrite it real quick. But I want to get x by itself. And just like the do now, how do I get 4 to the other side? Subtract, right? So this is exactly the same as if it were all in the place. So I would subtract 4 on both sides. Can I combine 2y and 4? Do they have the same last name? Nope. So I just rewrite it. 2y minus 4 equals x. That's my answer. And so sometimes today it is going to look messy, but it is the correct answer. We're just moving things around to isolate or get a variable by itself. Cool. Let's try the next one. Solve for d. So these are all real equations. This is circumference equals diameter times pi. You maybe learned about it in middle school, but don't worry about it if you don't remember it. So we're just trying to get the diameter, or d, by itself. When things are together, what does that mean? Multiplying. So how would I separate them? Divide, right? And so I know I'm going to divide pi, because I want to get d wants to be by himself. He doesn't want his clingy girlfriend pi with him. So my answer would just be c over pi equals d. So you're always just doing the opposites. This one, if you took semester 1 recently, you know we're going to be dealing with this a lot next unit. But we're getting linear equations. This is in standard form. You don't need to worry about that right now. We're just moving it around to get y by itself. So I'm going to rewrite it. And so if you like using colored pens, you're welcome to borrow one up here. But I like to highlight the color that I'm trying to get, or highlight the variable that I'm trying to get by itself. So first, I'm going to move the entire 7x to the other side. Notice I'm not splitting them apart. I'm moving them completely together. So how would I get 7x to the other side of the equation? Subtract it, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 7x on both sides. Can I combine these? Do they have the same last name? No, so I'm just going to rewrite them. Positive 5y equals 15 minus 7x. Now, is y by himself? No, he's still with his clingy girlfriend 5. How do we uncling them together? Divide. Perfect. So we're going to divide each one by 5. So sometimes it will look like this, where it's all divided by 5. A lot of times, if you remember semester 1, we're going to have to be dividing each one by 5. So you might as well start now. And so when we do that, we end up getting y equals, because that crosses out. What is 15 divided by 5? 3. And then we can't reduce that fraction, so we just rewrite it. And that's my answer. So we're not actually getting an answer, we're literally just moving things around. Does this make sense? Okay, let's try a couple more. D equals RT. And I want to get T by itself. So the first thing I usually do is write it, but use T in a different color because I know that's the one I did by itself. A lot of times I would divide by T if I didn't color it because I would think I would get T. So that's why it helps to use a different color. So how do I get t by itself? How do I divide that thingy couple? Divide by r, right? And so you end up getting d over r equals t. And I don't know if you're using it in science right now, distance equals rate times time. If not, you're going to use it in physics a lot. But these are all equations. You're going to have to do this actually in physics. Junior year. So it's my last school, they took it freshman year. But this is what you're doing in physics a lot. So it will help you if you get it now. Cool. Let's try this one down here. Solve for h. So I'm going to rewrite it like this and put h in red. So first I need to get rid of the fraction. From equations, how do I get rid of a fraction? Do you remember what we do when it's being multiplied? We multiply by something, so it's the r. Reciprocal. Beautiful. So what is the reciprocal of 1 over 2? 2 over 1, right? So to get rid of a fraction, you are going to have to do this on your test. So you are going to have something like 2/5 x, and you're going to have to get a variable by itself. To get rid of the fraction, you always multiply by its reciprocal. But don't forget to do it to the other side. We know that 2 over 1 is just 2, right? So what's 2 times a? 2a. Perfect. Equals b and h. So now the half is gone. Now I just need to get h by itself. How do I do that? Divide by b, right? Beautiful. And so you end up getting 2a over b equals h. And that's your answer. Last one I want to go over with you before I'm going to let you practice for a little bit is on the back. So go to the back page real quick. And it is this one right here, number 5. And so this one, they want to get m by itself. So I'm going to rewrite it and put m in a different color. Remember, the square does not get the same color. I want to get m all by itself. So first I'm going to get rid of that pi that's being multiplied. How do I get rid of that pi? Perfect. First, let's divide by pi. And when you do that, you get x over pi equals m squared. Am I done? How do I get rid of a square? Square root. And so you are going to have to do this. So what I do is I take the square root of both sides. That gets rid of that. And I take the whole square root of this side. And so my answer just looks like this. And so make sure on your answer choices, they may try to trick you. Like they'll give you square root of x over pi as an answer choice. Make sure since squaring and square rooting is the last thing we do, it should be over the entire thing. Cool. So, do you feel like you guys are ready to try it on your own? Okay, so go back to the front, and I want you to at least try the first 3. So go back to the front page. Right here. And I want you to at least try that, all the ones that we didn't do. Is it only 2 that we didn't do? Cool. So you're going to try the